Just close it out. Oh, there it goes. All right, we got it. All right. Yeah, that means that there's some sort of
Hope everyone had an amazing
urine.
Valentine's Day.
Dog urine over here. What's up? What's up? What's up? So this probably won't be too long of a video. Why does that? I hate that. It looks like I got like these chops, and it's just kind of dark. It's not even in black and white. It looks so dark. I'm just gonna kind of mess with this. I'm not trying to do like a serious portrait or get into super detail. I just want to kind of mess around with it before I actually start a portrait, so I might as well just kind of practice on a portrait kind of thing. So, oh, we're on this one, that's why. It's not our normal it's not our normal black and white intro. So yeah, I'm just gonna I got some of these Arteza watercolors, and I was YouTubing some videos just on brushes, and I bought some watercolor brushes. I've never owned I've only used brushes that I paint lettering with or do the filigree and line work with. Never used a watercolor brush, so I think that's what I'm gonna do today. So stay tuned. So I didn't know there was no sound. Cujo, please. Oh, yap yap dogs. So what I was saying before, I'm gonna tilt the canvas up like this and paint it. So I'll move this so y'all can see what I'm doing. But this is just gonna be a very loose, very just kind of playful, because I've never used these kind of brushes. These are very soft and dense. Like when you put them in paint, put them in water, and you paint with it, it's there's no pop to it, I guess you could say. Just resin is here.
We got some new colors, so be on the lookout for an email.
So I'm gonna need to wash these off. I didn't know, but you're supposed to wash these off with soap first before you use them. And I got some of this Master soap. to clean your brushes with. It actually smells good. It smells like peppermint? Not peppermint. What is the gum, the juicy fruit gum? Spearmint. That's what it smells like. It smells good. To clean these off first. And I've never used watercolor. So I'm gonna start with black. Maybe mix a little bit of this blue. Maybe mix a little of this burnt umber. Like I said, this is just gonna be playing around. So see y'all's comments. Yeah, I like it. I've started one probably like 2 years ago and never finished it. That's when I was starting to try to do the watercolor effect, kind of, if you would. I call it a wash effect because I start out with a very light color acrylic and just kind of add color to it. So this should be different because the watercolor is meant for water and it doesn't get washed out or diluted. It just gets transparent, I hope. I don't know. So I got these brushes. I just Googled, or I YouTubed what's the best watercolor brushes and watched a couple. And this is squirrel hair paint brushes, these blue ones. Very soft. That's the name of them. DIANAYW. What's up, everybody? And silver black velvet. That's the different names. And then, of course, the Arteza. They sent us a bunch of acrylics. We tried them out and didn't really try them as a painting, but just messed around with them and just didn't feel right. So we didn't do a like a proper review, so we never posted that. So I bought these. I might as well do a proper review. Hopefully I give it a proper review. I don't know how to use these, so or these brushes, so I'm just gonna go with what I know. And I always, whenever I do this technique, I always start with a damp rag so that I can kind of I don't want to sit and wait for paint to dry. I think that's what you have to do with watercolor. And this is by no means a watercolor board, so this is just a MDF board that I painted white, flat white. So there we go. Let's clean these brushes off so I can have them if I need them. Where's my soap? How's everybody doing today? I didn't know that you're supposed to wash your brushes first when you buy them, when they have like that film on them that keeps the point. But I did know that it's good to wash your brushes in and conditioner, hair conditioner. Let them set in there, it makes them nice and soft. These are super soft, these velvet ones. Like, I think I'm gonna like it because of how it's gonna lay down the colors. So let's just get to it. Not sure how much paint to put down, so I'm just gonna. I think I'm just gonna put some on the top here so I can use these as the different washes, different tones, I guess you could say. Alright, so what I want to do, how I like to start a painting like this if I have a white background, is I just want to get a tone down. I'm self-taught, so I don't talk a lot of art jargon or art, like values and hues and contrast and all that stuff, so I kind of do what kind of comes to me, how I feel. So let's see how we can start this. You guys can see that. It'll be all right. All right. So I like to have this in my hand. So if I put some down and it starts to drip, I don't want it to drip. I can kind of soak it up. I like to put down just like a very light tone. Where all the dark parts are. So you can see in this picture, I'm going to leave this area, most likely the eyes here, like the highlights. I'm just going to leave those the white. I'm going to put just a color down just to kind of give that to where I know where the darkest parts are. Like layering. And like I said,
no.
I've been all right. I've been awesome, Lisa. Thank you. All right. Give me some tape. I need to tape this up. Every time we go live, he starts to bark. He starts to do this growl. Pay attention to me. Drives me insane. It's like he knows that we need some kind of quiet, no background noise, but he doesn't care because he's spoiled.
No.
Very needy. Yeah, he gets attention 24 hours a day, even when he's sleeping. He gets it. Alright, so I'm just going to, we'll just put this camera over here so you guys can see what I'm, let me move this. I need a longer cord for this particular camera. Sorry, y'all. No. No, Bowie has trained Erica very well. All right, so let's move this so you guys can see a little bit better, and it's not going to be in my face. How does that look? Is that good? All right. So I got this. Get some water on this, and I'm just going to get a little bit of this black. And see, I always worry like this looks too dark to me. Like I would worry that's like entirely way too dark. But with watercolors, very transparent. Normally I would get a piece of wood with the same color white on here and test it, but since this is just a test fun piece, I'm just going to test it on this part out here. See, and I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna pick all these dark parts out, like of her, the cloth, the material, where all these dark parts, and I'm just gonna hit all these dark parts, like a good band of color here. Outline this guy. I'm a fan of using the brush as, like, people will paint something in, use a little brush or whatever, but I'm a fan of using the entire brush as, I mean, you can do like a thin line if you want, but if it tapers down, just push down on that brush and you get a nice big shadow there. This looks like this might be a little bit too dark, but it hasn't dried yet, so we'll see. But these parts are pretty dark, so I'm really not worried about that. I'm just gonna literally go and hit every part that I see that's a heavy shadow. And what I'm gonna do with this, with the outside and the bottom, I'm just gonna let it all drip. Should I brighten that up for you guys? Like, do I need to brighten this camera up? Does it seem like it might be? Let's see here. Let me turn this up. There we go. That's a little better. Here, I turned down the white balance a little bit. All right, so let's get a little bit more paint. It's funny because I never thought I'd use this soft brush like this. Like, I'm really like enjoying how you can go from thin to thick to, you know, with just one stroke of this brush. And it's not a hard line. See, I'm just gonna let that drip because I'm gonna let all these drip down. But so it doesn't drip on my, where is my rag? Oh, it's in my hand. I have this damp rag that I like to use. Alright, so there's pretty hard shadow that comes off of here. Shadow here. Shadow here. Shadow where her nose is.
No, easy.
Shadow right here. Comes up right underneath her eyes. Now, see what I like about doing stuff like this? You can make your shadow. You can make all this, and this is only going to get darker when you try to put other colors down. And that's what I like. It'll be a nice fade. It seems like it's drying pretty soft. Can I ask you? Of course, Joe. You can ask any question in here. What's up, Vamp?
Really wanted to come say hi to everybody.
Alright, so now I'm gonna do this. Let me see. I like to just test if I add a color, put down. If I put my brush in the water, just to see what colors I'm working with here.
I put resin
That's
in a mold. A
pretty
week later,
light.
it's still flexible. Any ideas? Was it thin, Joe? Hey,
See
y'all.
how up here that just got darker when I put this color down? I love that. I love being able to
So it's like transparent.
do
hey?
that. Yeah,
You can build the color.
yeah. And that way you can put down
Do you want me to zoom that out some?
a nice nice tone down to give you areas to know that I'm going to leave this white for the most part until I want to maybe put a little bit tone over it because it's not stark white. So let's do that. Let's just paint. We're just going to paint all the dark areas right here right now.
Hey, y'all. Joe, it's going to be flexible till it's 30 days cured since you did pour it thinner. But you didn't do anything wrong. That's just the nature of resin. Right, Lisa? He is so fluffy now. Look at all that. Look at it.
See, this is what I like doing with this brush.
Hey, Angela.
Like the side of it. You can use the side of it to put color down. And see, I'm literally not even painting those parts that are going to be the lightest part. You want to try to just leave any part that's white or highlighted white.
Agreed. I can see you really liking working with this stuff.
Well, it's so loose that it allows you to you're not committing so much, you know. You're not doing these hard lines and having to worry about getting rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't. You can still see your pencil marks. I love that. I love that you can still see your pencil marks.
He does need to be in a shampoo commercial. Joe, you can pour over it and make it thicker. If you have any more room in the mold, you can put it back in that same mold and just pour on top of it. Jeff, you're bloody good at everything you do.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Clara. Thank you, Angela. Oh, thank you, Lisa. Joe says it would take me a day to do that, Jeff, and it still wouldn't look that good.
You guys are sweet. You'd be surprised how forgiving this stuff is. It's hard for me to explain this, but I always say paint what you see. And the easiest way to describe that is if you squint your eyes and you look at something and all you see are kind of dark colors, paint that part, and then you kind of open them get a little more detail, paint what you see. Paint the dark to the lightest. I guess in this case it would be light to dark. I'm looking at this in a different way, but that's kind of how I envision it. I just do all the dark parts, then kind of fill those in and leave all the light parts. Like I said, I'm self-taught, so don't listen to me. Don't do as I say, or do as I do. One of those. You know those quotes. Look at that. That is amazing. Like, I can get in here and just get these little eyelashes with this brush. And this little separation where the eyelid and the eyeball meet. And before I put too much detail into these eyes, I'm most likely going to you see how I'm leaving the highlights white? Don't paint where there's supposed to be white. That's always the best way to leave a highlight. And always look at your reference. I kind of like to make up eyelashes because they're not all the same, so a little easier just to kind of make your eyelashes up. You can add more detail. Some people don't have a lot of eyelashes, so just add it in there if you like. What was I saying? Oh, to detail? What was I saying? Well, thank you, Lisa. About doing this detail. Look at that. Look how amazing. And I'm using the same color. It's just gradually getting darker. Oh yeah. I'm not going to put too much detail in this part right here, in the color of the eye. I'm not sure what that's called, because I want to paint it a color, so that the color will be in there, and then I can darken the color, you know, as I darken the entire thing. I've done that even when I do airbrush, even when I did acrylics, when I started in colored pencil, so that you have the color in there and it fades into the eye. You're not putting it over. Like if you painted all this and then put the color down, then the color it would stand out a lot more, and you wouldn't be able to blend it into the top of the eyelashes and all that. So I'm gonna put a little bit of blue in here. Just gonna put a little blue down. Before I do that, I'm going to put a little bit more wash in here, and then I think I'm going to add a little bit blue to this black, so that do you notice in this camera when I can sop up this, and this brush is so soft, like you wouldn't think that paint would come out of all this, and it does. Look at that. Like, you can squeeze all this paint out, and there's still so much paint in here. So what I'm going to do is fill in this part. I'm going to leave kind of a highlight right here where there is a highlight, but I want to kind of fill all this in so that these other parts start to get darkened, and I have more of a tone down, so all the other parts can start to come together as folds and bends and all that stuff. See, there's kind of a highlight right here. This is the highlight I'm talking about. I'm gonna paint over this. And then I'm gonna take my damp cloth and wipe it over here. So I still have some sort of line that I could see. And this part will just continue to get darker. I'm gonna let this drip off of this canvas. I'm just gonna start these drips here because I like to do drips, especially on a longer canvas like this. So you can wash your brush out and just start going over all these dark parts and these light parts to blend everything together. It's so tedious. It's so, like, you don't have to put a lot of paint on here. Alright, so let's put some color in these eyes first. I've got quite a bit of, I'm going to use this. This is a 8 round. Let's get a little bit of blue. See how opaque this is. There's nothing opaque about this. I like to paint all the way up into the eye so that you really get. See, I'm not a fan of this building up here. So I'm just going to hit it with this damp rag. And I like to keep the rag damp because you're not soaking up all the, if you have a dry rag, it's just going to soak up all the paint, take away your paint. If the rag is damp, it'll most likely just kind of blend it as well, but you're not taking up all the paint. See, I just take away those little drops that are wanting to drip. I'm not a fan of that right now. I don't want that dripping in the eye. Alright, now you just let that dry. Darken in these edges here a little bit if you want. Alright, so now I'm kind of excited to try to do this. Try to put a little bit of this blue into this black to cool it. Is it cool it or, yeah, cool it. fill. I guess what I could do is make, this is what I do when I use acrylics. I'll make a color I like a dark color. I'll take some of it, put it in another pot, and then add water to that so that it dilutes that, so you get a lighter tone. Alright, let's load this brush up. Need my reference. And what I normally do when I did do acrylics is what's I doing? Do that. Why is my brain going crazy right now? I can't think of what I was going to say. I literally lost track. Look at that. That looks great. That looks like that's faded. Like it's not a flat piece of material, but it's folded over. I like that. Blurry. Lisa, why are you in pain? What's the dealio? I don't know how this part goes over here. It's too dark to see. So I'm just gonna make like I know what's going on. Now that was not supposed to go at an angle like that. I hope people that do watercolor watch this and say you're not doing it right. Please tell me how I should do it. I'm just kind of going from what I've learned on my own and kind of just what makes it fun for me to do this. Let's put some dark in these eyeballs up here. And what I'll do with something like this is when I get to the point where I like how dark everything is, I will I'll get out my airbrush and blend everything together. I used to start all my paintings with just airbrush, and I got burnt out. You know what's funny? Talking to people live, like when I'm just talking, since I don't hear anybody talk back, it's like literally talking to somebody that is not listening to you, but you don't care, you just keep talking. Well, hopefully you won't fall apart, Lisa. Got to have a good mindset,
Be positive.
positive, do some artwork. Get back in the studio, do some artwork. And if you don't want a lot of paint on your brush, you're not trying to put a lot down, get your damp rag and you can see it'll kind of soak up some of that paint. And get in there and get your detail on. I said get your detail on.
No. No. Bean. Load. Thank you.
See how I damp that out and it kind of takes away from that harsh. And I'm not trying to make these eyelashes like very pronounced. I'm just giving it kind of a shadow. So when I go back in with a little deeper, little smaller brush and give it that wispy, I don't have to follow that, you know? I don't have to follow that particular line that I've put down. I'll take a X-Acto blade to these parts here that need to be white inside the eyes. So if you're wondering where Erica is, she is off in the corner doing inventory for Just Resin. We just got a big old package of Just Resin in. Alright. So I'm going to make a little bit lighter of this and go over all of this to darken that. You can test this over here. It looks a little dark. See how it's just kind of layering and layering. Like that's what I love about this technique is you're not committed to any line. You're not worried about, oh, I painted this too black, or I don't like that where that's at. You can always take this and almost erase a hard line with these watercolors. I'm just going to darken in all the darks and all these lights, and then take my rag and I'm literally going to wipe where I don't want that to be too dark. Let's put a little bit more blue in these eyeballs. Whoops. I'm going to get a pretty concentrated piece on my brush so that I can get these a little bit darker here. That way when I come in with the wash, it'll fade all of this together. What I'll probably do is tap this with my rag so that it's not so dark. Get a little water on there. Look at that, I just blend it all together. When I use the term loose, I mean loose like as in you can see these brush lines. You can see all these brush lines. I'm not trying to fade it out. That's what I was going to say earlier about when I did my acrylics. When I would start with something like this, I would wash this first. I would wash it with a really light gray whatever color I'm going to be using, just real kind of a gray, light gray, so that if I did get white spots, you know, I did highlights, all I have to do is just kind of take an eraser and erase that area if it's really white, or a X-Acto blade and scratch it out so that it's not so stark white like this background. Like if I wanted to paint this, all this would be getting dark and then all this would be light. It would be two different colors. So if there was a tone down first, I could just blend all that into that tone. But I don't mind this. Like I said, this is just a playful thing. I'm just trying to experiment with these brushes because I've never used these. And so far, I really like them. And Arteza, I really like this paint. It actually works for me. Like I'm like I said, if there's watercolor artists out there that are watching this, I apologize if I'm butchering the style or the technique, but this is what works for me, and basically that's what we're kind of about. We're not here to tell you how to do something, or I'm no teacher. Like we said at the summit, we're here to tell you what works for us and to inspire you and to just give you ideas of how we do it, you know, how we make it work. All right, I think I want to go in with this little bit bigger brush, or a little bit smaller brush, a little bit detail. This is a little bit too much detail. I don't want to do the eyes yet. Actually, I think what I'm going to do is just go in where the very, very dark parts are, and get the super dark parts. Since like I said, I'm going to do this very loose, very different style from what I normally do. Let's do these pupils. Well, thank you for letting us know your situation. Hope everything gets better in your life, Lisa. And let's talk some art. Let's go to some art conversation. See, this is what I mean by I didn't want this to look like this. You see how it's such a hard edge. I'm really not a fan of that. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring that color down into the eyes where they are. I'm going to bring all this shadow. I'm going to get all this. To blend. We got to get these eyelashes going. Very dark right here, so let's just get all these guys going. When I mentioned earlier, if you guys are wondering what I meant about X-Acto blades or erasers, instead of using white, you really don't want to use white on your white parts, because it'll make it look almost cartoony or just not realistic. You always want to go back to the white. It's what I learned in airbrush. And if you look at any airbrush portrait and they use white to do the highlights, it doesn't really give it that that real look. It looks almost cartoony. It looks just airbrushy. If you just leave the area white that you're going to be highlighting, it always makes it look a little better. And if you do paint over it, what normally what you do, like on canvases, from what I learned from a gentleman named Noah, he's an amazing airbrush artist. I believe he works for Disney now, doing all Disney stuff. Use an X-Acto blade or an eraser to go back down to your white. And then it gives it that more realistic look. A lot of airbrush artists use electric erasers, which are awesome, but you really got to know what you're doing, or else you will make a solid white mark that you do not want. And what I'll do is I'll most likely hit this with an X-Acto blade in all these little parts, just to get them a nice solid white. And then any highlights in the eyes, you know, like the little highlights that are, you know, that make your eyes look watery, that's perfect for X-Acto blading. I think I'm concentrating too much on these eyes. Hello, Germany. What? So we got somebody in here from Germany. See, this is what I don't like doing. I don't like getting too much detail with paintbrush, because then it just gets kind of washed out. I'm concentrating too much on that. I'm not a fan of doing that. See, I went from so light to dark that there's no layering in this. And I'm not really happy about that. Too much dark space. And also you can use the X-Acto blade to do eyebrows, to give it that little raised up look. So you don't necessarily have to draw in every single eyebrow, eyelash. too big, too much. This is not loose. This is... Now I'm just wanting to get detailed, and I don't need to be doing this right now, but I can't help it. Let me stop using this dark. Let's stop using that. Let's go in and make some highlights. Give me my X-Acto blade. And all I'm using is just a regular old X-Acto blade. Number 11. I left these pretty white, so I don't need to do a lot to it, but you can clean it up. Go into areas that need it. Get you some highlights where the eyes meet the eyelid and the eye socket. I think I need a lot more shadow on this. I think I just need to work a little bit bigger. I'm not used to working this small in portraits. Yeah. I'm glad I'm not too invested into this painting. I'm going to go to Makers today and make you guys some coasters. Alright, and the eraser that I like to use is called a pen eraser. Hold on, let me get it. It's literally used to erase pen ink. Oh, sorry about that. So it gives you a nice hard edge if you need, you know, like this line here for the nose and the eye. You can get a nice hard erased edge so it gives you just enough detail. And I always tell people, if you don't think it matters, do it because it matters. Add it or don't add it, it matters. And erasing like this, it definitely, it'll blend areas in that might be a little bit too harsh. It gets rid of stuff that needs to be highlighted. Like this. That's a pretty harsh part right there. And what I'll do with something like this is now I'll get the airbrush out. I would get the airbrush out and just darken in all the dark from dark to light. And then take a very fine brush for the eyelashes. If you're comfortable using airbrush, use it. I mean, I've done it, but I have these so hard lined in here that I think I would just probably blur them out. See, you should never put such harsh lines like this in here unless you're going to go back in and make them here. If you guys want to know what kind of eraser that is, it's this. I'm not a fan of that, but when I do airbrush over that, that'll blend all that in. Or I can just probably get a really dark blend with that and use my rag. I'm going to damp my rag up a little bit more. You can make a pretty good fade with a dark color wash if you really want. This ought to be fun. What I normally do with acrylic, I don't know if it's the same with watercolor, but since I put so much down here, it still feels kind of almost cold, so that means it's still a little bit damp. And then when you paint over that, it just gets rid of the paint that you painted. So I like to dry it with the heat gun. So I know that it's dry, and I can just kind of go over this with a much darker shade. I would have loved to start this piece out with the piece this color. You see that? It would have been so perfect if I would have just washed this board with that. So if you guys haven't noticed, I guess you can't really tell during the day, but I finally turned these lights that we have in here facing out. So there's no shadows coming in. And I'm loving it. And the light is it's such a nice light for these cameras. And I love it. Alright, let's see if we can get a nice darker fade in these folds here and in the eyes. Alright. I'm going to get some of this off here. Let's see that? That's a lot on there. And be careful if you're using a rag to dampen areas, that you don't put that on there. So get you a cleaner area so that you know that you're not marking up your stuff here. Good night, Lisa. Alright, so I'm going to start with this dark part here and just kind of go up. Fade it into these parts. Outline this eyeball. See, I'm not doing what I say I should do, and look at my reference. Does anybody have any questions or comments or suggestions? Or is anybody going to the summit? You guys, that's 2 months away. How crazy is that? And when I let this dry, I'm going to take, I'll take a little bit lighter wash and give it that shadow right here. Because I know this is way too white for all this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get this shadow first. Get that nice and dark there. Get this a little darker. When I do these eyebrows right here, or these eyelashes, I'm not doing the entire lash because I don't want it to look like spiders. So I just do the part where it connects to the eyelid, and then I'm gonna dampen that out. And then I'm gonna put a little bit of water on here, and then give it that shadow that's underneath here. See that there's always that little shadow right there where the eye meets the eye socket. A little bit too dark. I'm not a fan of that line right there. See, I have this damp rag and I kind of get rid of it, kind of. You can paint in shadows and areas that are a little darker and then wipe them away to give it that fade effect almost. I should be doing this with the airbrush, but this is what I like doing. I like to test myself. I like to challenge myself to see if I can make this look like airbrush. Get a little dark in here, do these eyelashes up here, darken in this a little bit more. Try to fade all that in. Like I said before, airbrush would be probably way more easier to use in this situation. But I don't feel like getting the airbrush out, because I have got to go to Makers today, like I mentioned. What's up, Abstract Impression? Oh, bye, Abstract Impression. See you guys on the flip side. Flippy flappy. Would I be considered cheating drying this off like this? I don't think so. I think it's a great technique to get your shadow the way you want it, your fade. And it makes I think it makes the stroke more defined if you wanted to do that. Gives it some texture too. I like that. What time is it? 12. All right, I gotta wrap this up, y'all. Wrap it up. Wrap it up. This was fun. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed doing this. I suggest doing this. I wouldn't just jump into a piece. Like these days, I get very irritated whenever I jump into a piece and it doesn't work out. Because I'm so used to just doing it like this and it looks okay or it starts out okay and then I can kind of fix it. But I've learned to say, you know what, why don't you go into this very loosely and do a test. Just do a small one or, the regular size, but just do it kind of loosely like the way that you really want to see it done. Don't have any expectations of getting it right. So you're not so disappointed if it doesn't turn out. And you get kind of warmed up. Thank you, Judy. This is like almost solid watercolor, so I'm not sure how this is going to turn out right here. This is very, very dark. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's see, let's get this line. That is way too dark. Whoa. That is a big eyelash. We'll see you, Judy. Thanks for coming in, hanging out. Yeah, let's get some shadow where these shadows are inside this eye. 'Cause this eye is pretty dark over here. There's not a lot of light in there. I like doing that. I like fading this dark to light right here. See that? See how that made that pop? You just throw in a little bit of a little dark shadow, fade it into a light one, and then tap that. Ooh! It just pops it out. What do you guys think about that? That's pretty cool. Make this a little darker over here. See, this is when I get into it, when I start to fade stuff like that. It's fun. So I wonder, what if I did this in reverse? What if I just did, like, what if I took this, did the same one, and got some, like, literally did all the super dark parts first. Just hit it. But wash it. Remember, we'll do this wash first. Then go in and do all this dark parts. Don't necessarily do the eyelashes yet, but do all the dark shadows, the darkest folds, just the really darkest, the pupils, and then start to color that in, like fade that stuff out. I think that would work very well. Hey Teresa, what's up? Thank you, Claire, for hanging out. Tell hubby I said hi. So this is watercolor. Yeah, watercolor. For a second there, I thought I was using gouache. I'm like, oh my god, am I using gouache? I got gouache too, so I'm not sure how that's gonna work. Apparently you can reactivate gouache. Olivia uses gouache. You guys know who Olivia is? She's a pinup artist from the 90s and 80s and still now. She does amazing work. She always has auctions for her stuff, and I'm like, all right, maybe I'll spend some money. And then I'm like, all right, not today. Can't spend that much money. But her work is definitely worth it. It almost looks like charcoal right here, doesn't it? Alright, y'all. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a little design on this thing right here. See what I can make it look like, something fun. And then I've got to go. friend Rudy. He's kind of amazing artist, amazing human being, amazing father, husband. His name is Rudy Hetzer. Rudy, I don't think I've ever said your last name to you, so I'm hoping that's the right way to say it. And I know I've known you for 100 years, but Art by Rudy. I'm pretty sure that's his Instagram and or Facebook. He does a lot of this type of work with the ladies with the stuff over their face. I don't know what it's called. I apologize to if you're watching this and this is your culture. But he does like Louis Vuitton print and all kinds of fun stuff. But his are humongous. They're like 4 feet by 5 feet, like 6 feet by 8 feet. Like they're humongous pieces. You should definitely go check him out. He was on a show just not recently, but a couple years ago. Best Ink, I believe it's called. I'm not sure they show that particular show anymore, but he was on it. He has a shop here in Dallas called Dallas Tattoo Company. Yeah, DTC. No, I got that right. You guys should check him out. One heck of a guy. No, Rudy's never been over here. I did have Jared Detox. He was over here. So, as you can tell, like whenever I start doing stuff like this, that means I'm like over it and I want to get done, and I'm just kind of playing around now. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this video on a good note. I keep painting. This was fun. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. Normally I'm griping and complaining all the time about not working out the way I want it to, and this time it kind of did, I guess you could say. But like I said, I was just doing this for a practice piece. Thanks, guys. Thank you, ladies. If anything, I might get the airbrush out later when I come home tonight and mess with this. But as far as it being done, it's done. I don't want to put too much into it because I'll literally cover this entire thing with this stuff, and I don't want to do that right now. And I'll want to finish it, but I've got to get to Makers. I'm going to be there for a while, and I don't like to leave. During traffic, so I normally get home around 8 or 9 from there. So yeah, normally I leave around 9. 9 or 10. And when you do clean out your brushes, I always say put them back the way that you found them so that they stay that shape. Never leave them in your water. Never do that. Don't do that. Don't say, oh, I'll get them later, because you won't get them later, and then you'll ruin an amazing, expensive brush. These weren't too bad. A set of 3, I think they were like 26, like 27, something like that. These were like 30 something, but they're so worth it. Like I said, this is the big one, which I really liked. I like this brush. I'll have Erica put them in the description box below in our Amazon account. So if you go click on that Amazon link and you buy them, we will definitely get a little piece of that, which we appreciate. And thank you guys from the bottom of both of our hearts.
Yeah, all that added in 2 seconds.
Yeah, she can add all of them. So I'm just going to lay these right here and let these dry. They're not touching the paper because they're going to a point, so which I'll probably just get a let's see here. I need another one of those brush holders, or I need to just empty out all these garbage pencils that I have in here. All these brushes that I don't use. I have so many. I can't even find it.
Alright, they're all listed.
All right, so all these brushes are listed, and the watercolor paints. This is I would get these. I would definitely use these. They're very forgiving. They're very very vibrant. Like, I was really surprised with this blue. I didn't expect this blue to be so vibrant.
How many bananas?
I would this watercolor paint. I would give it 10 bananas. But to be honest, I've never used watercolor, so we'll see in the future if I want to, experiment. But I don't see why. I mean, I like these, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't want to waste any more money. Unless somebody would like to send me some watercolors just to try out, I would love that. Thank you, Lisa. Whoops, got rid of that. Oh, that's up there. What am I looking for? Oh. All right, so we got to put this on this one. Oh, there it is. So, what I was saying, I would give these brushes 10 bananas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I liked them. They held paint very well. And they're amazing. I mean, they're very soft, very flexible. They hold their shape very well while you're painting. The bristles don't bow out like other crappy brushes. And I guess if you wanted to get that effect, maybe for texture or whatever, you could probably get one of those and kind of ruin it, and so you can have like splotches or crackly effect or whatever. I don't want to do that with that one. So thanks again for showing up. You guys are awesome. Read all our information. Go check our website out. All this stuff is listed in the description box below. We don't sell any of this, although we do sell the cradle boards, the round ones. We don't have these square ones yet. What else? Go check out ATD's Poor People. That's our Facebook group. You can find us on Instagram, Artist Till Death Studios. We have a Teespring. You can get custom socks if you want, custom shirts, custom blankets, phone case. I need to put some more designs on there. I'll probably do that later on tonight. So there'll be a couple different designs. And what that is you just go pick out whatever shirt, hoodie, socks, underwear, beach towel, whatever, phone case. They'll print it, ship it to you. And then we get a little portion of that. So that's a lot of fun. That is our snail mail. If you guys want to send me some paints to check out, or just something you guys want to send us, we'll check it out. We love to use it. We love to show it. We love to show you off. So you guys are awesome. Oh yeah, new stickers coming out next week, the 26th. B made me make some unicorn and fun ones. I'm like, no, let's do some skulls. What?
Just updated the website with all these new paints.
And all new paints for Just Resin is updated right now on the website. Oh yeah, Artist Summit, April 6th through the 8th? 8th? 7th? What is it? 6 and 7. Vegas. Let's do this. It's going to be amazing this year. We're speaking. A lot of new people are speaking. A lot of the same other people are coming and making sure you've set your goals and said what you were going to do. And just remember, if you said last year, oh, I'm going to make a YouTube channel. It's 2 months from last year. Have you made it? This is what I mean by tomorrow's going to come. It's already been almost a year. You could have had this entire time with videos, with maybe photographs, or updating your portfolio, or starting something new. I'm saying tomorrow's going to come, guys. So, yeah, I'm not griping at you. I'm just giving you a little tough love. A little push, if you will. Be kind to one another. You never know what somebody's going through. You guys have an awesome Monday, and we'll see you tomorrow, probably a little bit later, 2-ish. We normally go around 2 live. So yeah, we'll see you later. Bye.